It's relatively early in the morning, so I'm talking about the one Pokemon that is the closest thing that I can find to a cup of coffee, and that is Sinistcha. Sinistcha. Okay. Technically, I could have talked about Poltegeist as well, but we're talking about Sinistcha because it is the new grass ghost type that came out with the teal mask. Sinistcha here has two abilities, the first of which is Hospitality. Hospitality is a signature ability to itself and its pre evolution Poltergeist, and basically what this does is on switching, it heals a quarter of the HP of your partner Pokemon. So that's a relatively nice ability to have. And then as far as our other ability goes, we have Heatproof. So basically here, fire type attacks, they do about half the damage that they normally would, and you take half your burn damage as opposed to the full amount that you would normally take. So that can be relatively nice since this thing is technically weak to fire. So as far as the abilities go, I do like Hospitality, but you could definitely use Heatproof on this thing if you wanted to. To be honest, I don't really think I'm leaning one way or the other with the way how I have these builds. So let's get into our type breakdown and our stats. So we are a grass ghost type. We've seen this type before with Trevenant, and grass ghost is relatively handy. It's immune to normal and fighting type attacks. It resists grass, water, electric, and ground, and then it's weak to dark, ghost, ice, flying, and fire. And like I mentioned, if you're running heat proof, that fire weakness is kind of closer to a neutral hit than anything else because heat proof does reduce the amount of damage that you take from fire type attacks. So you could definitely run Hospitality if you wanted to, or Heat Proof. It's definitely up to you. As far as our stats go, we have 71 HP, 60 attack, 106 defense, 121 special attack, 80 special defense, and 70 speed. So Sinistcha is not going to be going fast anytime soon. Unlike Poltegeist, this thing does not get Shell Smash, so unfortunately that's gone. But what we can do with Sinistcha here is we can play it as a slow, bulkier special attacker. So what I was thinking for this first set here is we're going to run an Assault Vest to give us a 50% boost to our special defense. We're going to run a Calm Nature on it, and then we're going to go from there. So as far as the EVs breakdown, we have 236 into our HP to hit 176, 116 into our defense to hit 141, 68 into our special attack to hit 150, 84 plus a Calm Nature to hit 122 on the special defense, and then 4 into our speed to make the best of the leftover EVs there. What I was thinking here is because we're getting a 50% boost, the 84 EVs into our special defense plus the Calm Nature giving us 122, that gives us an extra 61 points thanks to the Assault Vest. So we're going to be living special attacks relatively nicely, and on top of that, Sinistcha is one of the few things to get access to Scald with the return of that move, and its own signature move is basically Giga Drain fused together with Scald. So its signature move, Matcha Gotcha, is a base 80 power grass type attack with 90 accuracy that has a 20% chance to burn the target, and it also gives you back 50% of the damage you dealt in HP recovery, which is relatively handy, especially if you want to play the bulky route. So the idea that I was thinking here is we have Matcha Gotcha and Scald as two damaging options, and we can try to burn the target so that they're doing less on the physical side. Now, a Reflex setter, like maybe Grimmsnarl, Screamtail, they could be really nice to have paired with this Sinistcha here because they're going to be reducing the damage you're taking on the physical side while you're trying to land those burns. You can also set up a light screen if you wanted to, especially since both Grimmsnarl and Screamtail get that as well. So you can get really bulky really fast. The only thing I'm a little bit disappointed in is the fact that you only have 150 in your special attack with this build. So what you probably could do too is you could probably reduce the amount of special defense that you put in to increase your special attack a little bit more, and then that way you could try to do a little bit more damage. Now, another way to get around that is also have helping hand support. That's definitely an option as well. So Then as far as the rest of the moves go, we have Shadow Ball as our third attacking option there for Ghost type stab. And then we have Leaf Storm as our fourth move to just have that big burst of damage. We can then switch Sinistcha out if we wanted to. And if we switch it back in, well, we're going to be healing up Sinistcha's partner. So it's nice synergy if you're doing that with Hospitality. But the other thing too is you don't necessarily have to run Leaf Storm here. What you could do too is you could run Foul Play, since that does use the opponent's physical attack stat versus Sinistcha's physical attack stat to do the damage. You could run that. You could also run Terra Blast, and then pick a different Terra type that isn't Grass or Ghost, and then that way too you have another coverage option. And then you could also run maybe, where was it? You could run Uproar. It sounds weird, but what I was thinking here is it's base 90 normal type damage, and it prevents anything from being put to sleep. So that could be really nice. Because one thing that does get in the way of bulky Pokemon is status conditions, especially burns, but sleep can be really annoying too. So having that Uproar there is a means of being able to prevent Sinistcha from being put to sleep. So that could be a potential option. As far as Terra types go, Grass and Ghost for either doubling your stab on Matcha Gotcha or Shadow Ball are definitely something that I am really tempted to use. I do like the idea of Terra Water, and then that way you do lose Grass's weakness to Ice. You become neutral to Bug, so that is relatively handy. You also lose the Fire weakness, especially, which could be handy if you're not running Heatproof. Terra Fire could be good too, because Fire types do have some nice little synergy right there, because now what you're doing here is you're losing access to the Ice weakness as well as the Bug weakness. You are becoming neutral to flying, and now you can burn other grass types, or rather incinerate them with a fire type Terra Blast. So that could be a good way of getting around that as well. Let's move on to our second set. So the second set here is actually going to be bulky support Sinistcha. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to focus on Rage Powder. And Rage Powder is nice here because now Sinistcha is going to be the redirection support. We have that to make sure that Sinistcha is taking the hit for its partner, so long as your opponent doesn't have safety goggles on their Pokemon. And what makes this thing fun too is we are going to run Strength Sap. Strength Sap here lowers the target's attack one stage, and it heals you by the amount of points that the attack is. So heavily physical invested Pokemon are going to be giving you back more HP. And this is another reason why, like when you're just for general team building, why you try to run as close to 0 attack IVs as possible, because not only does Foul Play do more damage to you, but Strength Sap heals your opponent more if your attack is higher. So when you're not running a physical Pokemon, you really should try to run as close to 0 attack as possible for those two reasons. So anyways, going back into this, we have Matcha Gotcha to heal back up Sinistcha. We have Scald, but this could be switched out with either Shadow Ball or any of the other moves that I just mentioned on the Assault Vest set. I mainly put it there for a little bit of coverage there to get around fire types as well as rock types. And it's also nice to be able to double up on the burn chance between Matcha Gotcha and Scald. So that is definitely one thing. As far as the EVs go, we have 236 into our HP. And the reason why I'm doing 236 instead of 252 is so that the numbers for the leftovers recovery rounds out to an even 11. And then that way we're just optimizing the EVs a little bit and putting the remaining points into our defenses. That's the big thing, because if you go up to 252, you hit 178. When you divide that by 16, it works out to be something like 11.125. Something roughly like that. If you go down to 176, it works out to be in an even 11, meaning you're optimizing on how much recovery you can get back there because the decimal rounds down. So we have that there. We're just putting the rest of the points into our defense stat. So what we're doing here is we got the 236 to hit 176, 164 defense to hit 147 points, and then finally a Calm Nature with 108 EVs into our special defense to hit that 125. Now, we don't have the assault vest here, so that's why I'm trying to patch up the special defense with the calm nature. If you wanted to play this more towards the physical side, you can easily do that and run a bold nature. That would put you up to 161 with the current EV spread. You could lean more towards that if you wanted to, but you also do have the burn chance to help reduce the opponent's offensive capabilities. So that's kind of where I'm thinking with the numbers. You could probably even run a little bit less into the physical defense and then run more into the special defense to try to patch that up just a little bit, because, I mean, as soon as you get the burns, that's going to be really nice. Let's talk about our next two, and these are going to be kind of playing off of each other a little bit, and that is actually going to be a Calm Mind set. So remember what I said about patching up the special defense? Here you go. Originally, I was thinking about doing this as a Nasty Plot set, which you totally could do, but I like the idea of Calm Mind here. And what I like the idea too is specifically pairing Sinistcha with Indeedee. So what we could do here is we could set the Psychic Terrain with Indeedee, send in Sinistcha with a Psychic Seed for its item. We naturally go up a +1 into our special defense without any investment on a neutral nature. Sinistcha is sitting at exactly 100. So that's a free 50 points when we hit that +1 into our special defense. So that can free up our EVs to invest into our HP, our special attack, and our defense. So we're going to run a quiet or a modest nature depending on what you want to do with this thing. 70 speed is not the fastest. You could definitely make a case for running it in Trick Room, and because this thing is part grass, you don't have to worry about Amoonguss or Brute Bonded Spore, so that is a relatively nice thing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have 176 total points for our HP. We're going to invest 156 into our defense to go up to 146, and then the rest is going into our special attack. Now, if you wanted to run a little bit into your special defense, you totally could, but the Psychic Seed is kind of why we're going to run this. So the main idea here is we're going to go for a Calm Mind. We're going to go for a +1 into our special attack and our special defense. We have that Calm Mind. Now we have Matcha Gotcha powered up, so we're going to be getting back even more HP with that. And the nice thing here too is it's actually a 24 PP move once you power it up with PP ups, so that's going to be relatively handy. We have Shadow Ball for raw coverage. We could switch this in for Scald, or what we can do too, depending on what you want. The fourth move is Protect, but if you're playing in either singles or anything else, you could take Protect out. Even if you want to live on the edge a little bit and just take Protect out completely for doubles and run a third damaging move, you totally could. Scald would be nice. Leaf Storm would be a little bit counterproductive, but if you really want that extreme burst, you could. But I do like the idea of Scald. I really do like the idea of Scald here. Because, you know, the water coverage just synergizes really nice with Grass's weaknesses as well as some things that can be a little annoying for grass types, and it also gives you a means of hitting steel types that might have a secondary typing that make them resistant to ghost. So this would definitely be handy because, you know, you would have to watch out for the likes of King Gambit, for example. So being able to burn a King Gambit with Scald could be really nice. And now let's talk about the last portion of this, because this is also kind of playing off of the Calm Mind idea, and that is Iron Defense Calm Mind. Hello, Noel. No, come here. There you go. They don't want to look at your butt. I'm sorry, but they just don't want to look at your butt. So, our last set here, Iron Defense Calm Mind. And what I was thinking, this is kind of a funny, more jokey idea, but you could do it. So Calm Mind and Iron Defense together. You raise your defense by 2 stages with the Iron Defense. You raise your attack and special defense 1 stage each with the Calm Mind. Now you're going to get bulky really fast, especially if you're running like redirection support next to Sinistcha. And because I mentioned the Rage Powder, people might think Sinistcha itself is the redirection support, so they might be like, what's going on? So that's definitely a thing here. We have the Matcha Gotcha to heal us, and we have the Scald. Now, here's the other thing too about Sinistcha. It does not have a lot of coverage, so the nice thing here is even though its coverage is so limited, it does a really good job with what it has at its disposal. As far as the EVs go, I kind of was on the fence because we're going to be boosting all of our defenses right there with Combine and Iron Defense. So I just threw 60 into each of them to hit 134 on our defense and 108 on our special defense. We put the 4 points into our speed to hit the 1 point because we don't want to waste those EVs. And plus, if we're playing in a mirror match, I mean, I'd rather be a little bit faster than the opponent, especially if I'm trying to set up and go for those combines, and then that way, if they're just going for damage, especially if they're in a situation where it's only the Sinistchas, I want to get that combine first and then do the damage. We have Scald to burn things. Of course, I really cannot get over that. Scald boat. I'd say Scald go burr, but that's more of a cold thing. Scald go s. But anyways, we have 148 EVs invested into our special attack on a modest nature so that we're going to be hitting harder. We're at 176. That's nice to be boosting up with the Combine, and plus we're going to try to become a slow wrecking ball with this teacup here. Anyways, guys, I've rambled on long enough. I actually have to get ready for work now, so let me know what you think of in the comments about Sinistcha down below, and let's get the conversation going, shall we?